a little bit different, according to the Washington Post. Quote, the security will be tighter, the crowds will probably be bigger, and the tickets will run $750 a guest, a hike from last year. Well, the report goes on to say there's even a VIP area being built on top of the stage. I want to bring in MSNBC contributor Howard Dean, former governor of Vermont and former DNC chairman, and Republican strategist Susan Del Percio. To both of you, welcome. Thank you for your time. As we start off with Howard here, I want to go to you first. You've got the whole Mar-a-Lago New Year's Eve party with the president, presumably amid club members there. Does that access concern you, or do you think it really poses an optics problem for the president, or is it just, just a matter of consequence when it comes to Mar-a-Lago parties?
There's two issues here. One is shared by both parties. Their access does concern me. Both parties do it. The money goes to campaigns. The problem for Trump is, of course, this money is going into his pocket. These people are paying $750. It's going into the Mar-a-Lago, which he owns, and he therefore benefits from it. So this is direct backsheesh, not just disguised as campaign contributions, which everybody does, which is sick as it is. We ought to get rid of and change the financing of campaigns. This is a direct payment to Donald Trump.
Well, let's break that down as far as what's in that amount of money as far as getting you in the door. Some critics, Susan, are pointing to the hike in the prices. You've got the jump in Mar-a-Lago's initiations fees, and you've got the president's frequent trips there as a potential ethics violation. So given that the president maintains ownership of Mar-a-Lago, you heard from Howard there, is that a fair argument? Should the White House be more concerned about it?
Well, whether or not they should be or not, they're not going to be. This is something that Donald Trump will not stop doing. Next year, we may hear again that the price has doubled. I think public relation-wise, people pretty much who support Donald Trump don't care about it, and people who don't like Donald Trump just don't like him even more as a result of it. But there is something about having this type of access to the president. We know that when he is at Mar-a-Lago, he tends to go around to tables. People do try to use it as a way to get to him. We know that people from foreign governments have recently bought memberships. So to the governor's point about campaign contributions and accessibility, this does allow a different way to get into the administration to see Donald Trump. So the accessibility of Donald Trump and those who are seeking to get it is somewhat concerning, and that's why I think they have to release the membership and who's at certain events.
Yeah, just for the record, neither of you are going tonight. You got other plans, maybe sleeping in Netflix night? All right. Susan, just days ago, we were talking about Mar-a-Lago, and the president, Trump, giving this at New York Times a wide-ranging 30-minute interview about it. And to the point that you were speaking about as far as access there, the Washington Post came out with more details about the interview, saying this, not a single aide or advisor was present at the table. Not a single aide or advisor knew about it in advance. So when it comes to that and having the access, how problematic is that for the White House?
That's just a communications shop's worst nightmare right there, is having your principal sit down with the New York Times reporter, unstructured, without a time limit interview. And that is, again, I will say the one plus of this president is the amount of transparency that is shown with his availability for these types of interviews, and even when we see what he says on Twitter, he is pretty much saying what's on his mind in real time, and it's not necessarily a well-thought-out strategic delivery system. But again, internally, it does show, and this is something that Chief of Staff Kelly has to be concerned about, is the lack of discipline and the lack of staff to control these types of events.
Well, types of events, let's talk about the buffet line, because you got in the same report here that describes another scene at Mar-a-Lago. It says this, on Christmas Eve, Trump actually walked to the buffet and made his own plate, providing guests with yet another opportunity to interact with the president. So Howard, is there an argument to be made that this is kind of a good thing? The president is just so approachable. He's up there, getting some bread and salad from the buffet line, maybe seconds, and it's a good thing. Is it?
Yeah, but these people are putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into Donald Trump's pocket. Into Donald Trump's pocket. I mean, this, for what minimal campaign finance laws we have left after Citizens United, which is a disaster anyway, now Trump just openly opens his hand and takes the money. That's what you're paying for. This is a disgrace. It's awful. I mean, this is really corruption at its height.
Just one other thing to add in there that we saw about that access when you talk about the buffet lines and such. We saw a really bizarre tweet from the president a few days ago about how Amazon, how the post office should charge more, to Amazon. It was just this bizarre kind of tweet. And I can only think that happens when he's in that environment of Mar-a-Lago and having lots of people get into his head and make these suggestions that he randomly tweets about. So that, again, is very disruptive.
All right. I want to ask you.
Actually,
go ahead, Howard.
Slight disagreement. I actually think he did that on purpose because he has it in for Jeff Bezos, and he somehow connected Bezos, Amazon, and the U.S. I'm serious. This guy's a whack job. We know he's a nut. And I think that's what really caused the Washington Post
stock went down after that tweet. I want to get to this because it is a big headline as far as the New York Times and the reporting about the Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, his role in sparking the FBI's investigation into Russia. Some of the right have been pushing that narrative that the Steele dossier was behind all of this. So, is this going to be the end of that? Is that dead, or is there any resuscitation that's going to go in when it comes to that narrative, Susan?
Well, I think the narrative, we'll see lots of different things kind of pop in and out, but the narrative is that Bob Mueller is doing this investigation. He's going to continue to take this investigation wherever it goes. We now know that you can't use that this is some witch hunt. This is a result of a staff person speaking inappropriately, that the Australian government notified our FBI, which is something, by the way, the Trump campaign should have been when it was notified by Russians. Notify the FBI that these things were said, that there was this campaign staffer from the Trump campaign making contacts with Russian diplomats or folks connected to the government. So it does knock out one line. But we know that this investigation may have started with a type of collusion, but when we see what's happened with Jared Kushner, when we see 4 indictments, this investigation, there's going to be, I think, several different paths that we see this investigation go down.
And Howard, your thoughts on it being an end of dossier talk when it comes to that narrative, or?
Well, here's the thing about the dossier. It's disgusting, and it's probably true. I finally have come to the conclusion, because I think the investigator had more credibility than the president does. But it's not illegal for the most part. The stuff that's going to hang Donald Trump is not what's in the dossier. It may turn his people off, or it may not. The stuff that's going to make him really troubled is, as Susan points out, the financing of the Jared Kushner, the money laundering that's most likely gone on. It turns out there probably has been collusion with a foreign power to influence the election. Those are crimes, and high crimes and misdemeanors, and that is a big problem.
Well, we will see down the road in 2018. To both of you, Susan Del Percio and Howard Dean, thank you.